So barbarians are known for being great melee attackers, not so much ranged. But what if we could build a barbarian that is good at both? What if we could build a barbarian that uses bombs to the best of their ability? It's time for the Brutal Bomber. Let's dive in. Okay, for today's ancestry, we're going half-orc. And of course, we are building a barbarian. So for our instinct, we're going to go with the dragon instinct. And for our dragon, you're going to want to pick the one that corresponds with the type of bomb you're going to be using the most. For me, I'm going to want to be using bottle lightning the most, so I'm going to pick blue or bronze dragon. But if you want to use something like alchemist fire a lot, then you're going to want to pick gold or red dragon here. We will talk about why later in this video. For background, you can pretty much pick any background you want here. I went with warrior because that fits the theme. But as long as you get the stats you need, you shouldn't have any trouble with any background. Speaking of which, the starting stats for this build should be Strength 18, Dexterity 14, Constitution 12, Intelligence 14, Wisdom 10, and Charisma 10. Our first class feat for this build is going to be Raging Thrower. This will allow us to add our rage damage to our thrown weapon attacks. Thrown weapon attacks, not weapons with the thrown traits. That is a huge distinction for this build. As if it was just weapons with the thrown trait, we wouldn't be able to apply this feat to our bombs. So this will give us a little bit of extra damage on our bombs. Then for our ancestry feat, we're going to go with Natural Ambition. That of course will give us a first level class feat. And we're going to want to pick up Raging Intimidation here, as frightening foes will allow us to hit better with our bombs. And that feat will allow us to do it while we're raging. For level 2, I've gone with Draconic Arrogance. We're not going to be upping our wisdom at all in this build, because we really don't need it for anything other than will saves. So getting a +2 on saves against emotion effects while raging is really going to help us out, because about 90% of emotion effects require will saves. Then of course we gotta talk about the free archetype. And this is where we'll pick up our alchemist dedication. After all, what's the point of building around throwing bombs if we can't make bombs ourselves? Yes, we could absolutely rely on the alchemist in the party to hand us those bombs, but not all parties are going to have an alchemist. So we need to be able to make bombs ourselves with this build. Plus, taking the alchemist dedication will allow us to hand out other items to our party members as well, such as elixirs of life and other alchemical items. But we are mostly going to want to create bombs with our infused reagents. For level 3, of course, we gotta talk about general feats. And you can take these in any order you want, but this is the order I would take them in. First, you're gonna want to take Ancestral Paragon for Orc Ferocity first. We're going to be taking a few ancestry feats that are going to require that, and it's always good for a barbarian to be able to stay up at 1 hit point. Then of course you will want to pick up the 3 feats I always take for every build on this channel: Canning Acumen, this time for your reflex saves, Die Hard, and Toughness. And for your last general feat, you can pretty much take what you want, but I went with Untrained Improvisation for our skills. For level 4, we're going to start with Oversized Throw. This allows us to throw items in our environment at enemies. We're not a full alchemist, which means we might run out of bombs. So we need another ranged option in case we do. And this is another thrown weapon attack, which means we can add our rage damage to it. Then we'll want to pick up Quick Alchemy. Yes, believe it or not, Quick Alchemy does not have the Concentrate trait, which means we can use it while raging. So, if we need a specific alchemical item for a given situation, we can get it quickly with Quick Alchemy, even if we're raging. And for our 5th level ancestry feat, we're going to take Hold Mark. And of course, we're going to want to pick Bomb here. As a barbarian, we only get critical specialization effects with melee weapons. And of course, Bomb is a ranged weapon. So we're taking this so we can hit more enemies with the splash damage from our bombs if we crit, which a barbarian is going to do a lot more than an alchemist. For the first teamwork report, we are going to want to be using a one-handed weapon for this build. Mainly so we have a hand free for some of our feats, and so that we can throw our bombs. But just because we are taking a bunch of feats that are going to help us with our ranged options doesn't mean that we can't be in melee. Far from it. We are still going to have the massive HP of a Barbarian and the attack bonus of a Barbarian. And we are going to have a hand free, which means we can do things like grappling and tripping with our athletics. And don't forget, there's no penalty for using ranged weapons in melee in this system, unless the creature you're facing has attack of opportunity. But even if they do, so what? It just means you get hit. And again, we have massive HP because we're a Barbarian. But this is one of the reasons why we want to be a Dragon Instinct Barbarian. And why we want to pick a dragon that's going to correspond with the bomb we're going to use the most. As once we hit level 9, we can start using bombs in melee. Because remember, yes, we are going to get hit by that splash damage. However, if we use the right kind of bomb that corresponds with our dragon, we're not going to take any damage. And the Dragon Instinct will give us the most rage damage we can have without needing a specific type of weapon, or to be stuck with unarmed attacks while we're raging. I picked the dragons that do lightning damage because bottle lightning gives the flat-footed condition without needing a specific feat. And don't forget, we still get our rage damage from melee attacks as well. Okay, for level 6, we will want to take Dragon's Rage Breath, so we have another ranged option. Then Expert Alchemy to give us better bombs. Next up is Friendly Toss, so we can throw other melee-focused allies at enemies so they don't have to use an action on their turn to move. Then Far Lobber will let us throw bombs 30 feet instead of 20 feet. Then for our level 9 Ancestry feat, we'll want to pick up Undying Ferocity, allowing us to get a few extra hit points whenever we use Orc Ferocity. For our level 10 class feat, we're going to take Terrifying Howl to allow us to intimidate a bunch of foes at once while raging. Then we'll want to take Calculated Splash for even more damage to enemies. Then it's time to pick up Furious Grab because again, we're going to have a hand free, so we might as well try to grab enemies when we are in melee. Then of course we will want to pick up Master Alchemy for even better bombs. And of course, some enemies are going to be out of our range, so why not be able to fly with Dragon's Rage Wings? And then we will want to debuff enemies with our bombs, so of course we'll take Debilitating Bomb. And if you have access to Pechpine Grenades, or another bomb that does piercing damage, you'll want to take Penetrating Projectile here. That will allow you to hit multiple creatures with that type of bomb. If you don't have access to those types of bombs, then you can pretty much take anything you want at level 16 here. However, for the free archetype at 16th level, you will want to take Directional Bombs. That will allow you to make your splash damage a cone rather than an area, and that will help you avoid your allies taking damage, as well as possibly hit more enemies. Oh, before I forget, for level 13 Ancestry feat, you will want to take Incredible Ferocity, allowing you to use Orc Ferocity once per hour instead of once per day. And for our level 17 and last Ancestry feat, you'll want to take Bounce Back. So when we lose the dying condition, once per day we don't increase our wounded condition, allowing us to stay up for longer. At level 18, we'll pick up Brutal Critical. So on a critical hit, we add an extra damage dice. In addition, the target also takes persistent bleed damage equal to 2 damage dice. Normally this only applies on melee attacks. However, we have Raging Thrower, so this also applies on our bomb attacks. So critically hitting with our bombs is going to be absolutely amazing. Then we'll pick up Healing Bomb, allowing us to heal our allies at range. And now we finally come to level 20, which we're going to take Quaking Stomp. With this feat, we can essentially cast Earthquake once every 10 minutes. So when we're in melee, it's hard to get past us. And of course, everyone in the area is going to be taking damage. And the last feat for this build is going to be Greater Debilitating Bomb, for better debuffs when we hit people with our bombs. Okay, time for Teamwork Report number 2. The strategy for the build is pretty much the same, except now we have feats that can actually do some melee stuff. We can grab foes with Furious Grab without even making an athletics check. And we can make difficult terrain around us with Quaking Stomp. And of course we have our Raging Resistance now. Which means, of course, that if we use the right kind of bomb, we can detonate a bomb in someone's face and not take any splash damage. We can now also debuff opponents with more than just intimidation. We can make them clumsy. We can make them flat-footed. We can make them enfeebled. We can make them stupefied. We can even make them slower by 10 feet. And we can use any type of bomb to get those. Because remember, Quick Alchemy does not have the concentrate trait, which means we can use it while raging. And if we have access to piercing damage bombs, then we can hit multiple enemies with the same bomb. And that's just the beginning. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like. And if you want a Google Sheet for this and a bunch of other builds, you can check out the Patreon page in the description below. And if you're interested in a Bad Touch Cleric, you can check out this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see ya next time.